Beleza, vamos ver qual é a desse jogo, né? Que estranho, meu Twitter não tá abrindo direito. Calma aí. Fiquei na de vocês aí. Relaxem aí que eu tenho que ver por que o Twitter botão não tá abrindo. Whatever. Eu vou divulgar por aqui mesmo. Vamos lá. Ó, até pra twittar aqui tá bugado, tá ligado? E aí, pessoal, tudo beleza, cara? Tem que equilibrar o som do jogo ainda, né? Que esta zoeira está muito forte, melhor parar. Baixei um packzinho de tradução. Cara, eu comprei esse jogo há muito tempo. É, exatamente, isso mesmo. E eu nunca joguei ele, velho. Vou dar uma olhada. Como é que é? Baixei o packzinho aí, tem português. O pessoal entender, né? Não que pra mim faça muita diferença, mas o pessoal que tá assistindo vale, né? Eu vou iniciar isso aqui então. The end is never the end. Então tá.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company.
Pera aí. Opções. É muito bom essa tradução, né? É ótima. Pera aí. Opções. Ok. Recomeçar. Vamos ver se agora vai. Não, eu quero começar o jogo do nada, fio. Quero as animação.
This is the story of a man named
Beleza, agora sim.
Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year.
Que chatice.
Although others might have considered it soul-winning, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened.
Deu
Something
brete.
that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Não, eu não saí não. Ele saiu do seu... Opa! Trancaram a porta.
Simply couldn't handle the pressure. What if he had to make a decision? What if a crucial outcome fell under his responsibility? He had never been trained for that. No. This couldn't go any way except badly. The thing to do now, Stanley thought to himself, is to wait. Nothing will hurt me.
Que lixo, eu quero sair daqui, quero sair.
In here I can be happy forever. I will be happy. Stanley waited. Hours passed, then days. Had years gone by? He no longer had the ability to tell. But the one thing he knew for sure, beyond any doubt, was that if he waited long enough, the answers would come. Eventually, someday, they would arrive. Soon, very soon now, this will
Eu acho que não vai acabar não, hein, cara.
He will be told what to do. Now it's just a little bit closer. Now it's even closer. Here it comes.
Explodiu. Vai explodir o jogo, quer ver? Abriu a porta. Beleza. Tá trancado. Tudo trancado, cara.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Cadê os
Stanley
amigos?
decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Será? Onde é que é a sala de reuniões? Deixa eu ver. Essa porta bonita? Não. Nossa, é tudo igual, cara. Que empresa horrível. Bom, eu vou pelas portas abertas, né? Já que eu não posso abrir nenhuma. Lá, 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 lá. What?
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
E se eu quiser entrar na da direita? E aí?
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Não, na verdade eu não quero seguir o que tu tá me falando. Eu sou muito vida louca, cara. Fica a dica.
Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring.
Caraca, máquina de refri.
Worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in.
Tá, não tem mais nada pra beber? Então eu não quero nada.
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
À esquerda. E se eu não quiser entrar na da esquerda? E aí? Eu não vou obedecer tuas ordens.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Ô, para de me xingar. Tu não manda em mim?
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time.
Eu sei, cara, então começa a contar outras histórias.
Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her.
Não interessa, cara, eu tomo minhas decisões sozinha.
Your chance to redeem yourself, to put your work aside, to let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Ah, quem? A minha vassoura? O meu Nintendo Wii U? Olá. Eu não gosto de salas escuras, velho. O que será que tem aqui dentro? Ai, caraca, o telefone.
That's her, Stanley.
Alô? Quem fala? Alô, pronto? Oi?
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven.
Tem alguém falando ali.
Right.
É você, Satanás.
There we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Ai, caraca. Que troço é esse?
Gotcha. Oh, come on.
Por que tu não tá botando as legendas, filho? Eu mandei botar as legendas. Não mandei?
Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come
Eu não
on,
quero ver
Stanley.
nada.
Let me show you what's really going on here.
Ele quer que eu veja ali dentro. Tem como fugir? Eu vou fugir.
But you're in my
Ah.
story now.
Para! Deixa eu fugir. Tá. O que tá acontecendo?
This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley.
Oh, eu morri? Bom dia, funcionário 427. Aperte J no seu teclado.
Stanley is quite
Pronto.
a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence.
Ele tá falando que a minha vida é inútil. Por favor, aperte F. Ok.
Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life.
Eu não escolhi vida nenhuma. Sai fora. Aperte H. Ok?
But in his mind, in his mind he can go on fantastic adventures.
Eu posso?
From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful. And each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him.
Mentira, eu posso viver grandes aventuras. Calado. Eu não quero assistir TV. E se eu não quiser? Tá bom, eu vou assistir TV.
Fantasize about his own job, First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly.
Aperte 6 para passar tempo com os amigos. Mas, cara, não tá acontecendo nada.
So, he went further. He imagined that he came to 2 open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice.
Exato.
It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold.
É, cara, isso se chama liberdade. Aperte Y para preparar a janta. Ok.
As he wandered through this
Oh.
fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby.
Esse narrador é muito chato, né, pessoal? Pelo amor de Deus. 7.
It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over
And
and
again,
over,
and again, and
wishing beyond
again.
hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time.
Game para dizer que sua esposa que amo. Mas, cara, minha esposa, ela... Olha, velho, tá certo que o Dia dos Namorados tá aí e em geral tá sozinho, mas ninguém merece namorar um manequim, né?
But there is no answer.
Oh.
How could there possibly be?
Minha
In
sala
reality,
de
all
trabalho.
he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets. The more he forgets which life is the real one.
Isso faz sentido. 3.
And I'm trying to tell him this. That in this world he can never be anything but an observer. That as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop.
Eu paro, cara.
Watch
Me
this.
ajuda.
Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it.
Ok. Não, eu não vou apertar o botão. Me obrigue. Eu não vou apertar o botão. Eu não vou apertar o botão. Vou apertar o botão porque eu sou muito apelão. Não posso fugir? Eu não quero apertar o botão. Será que eles vão me deixar fugir se eu não apertar o botão? O tempo não tá passando. Ou será que tá escurecendo e eu não tô vendo? Porque, filho, se me pedem pra apertar um botão... Cara, eu vou apertar outro. Ah, não adianta. Ó, tá passando tempo ali. Lá. Ó, eu não vou pro trabalho não, hein? Eu sou muito vida louca. Sério que tem que esperar tudo isso? Cara, eu só tenho como apertar o botão. Se eu não apertar, eu vou ficar aqui pra sempre, é isso? Isso não é livre-arbítrio, isso é um pesadelo.
You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself?
H para não questionar nada. Da hora.
I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must.
Isso aí.
Perhaps.
Me ajuda.
Maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again.
Por favor, morra.
Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again. And Stanley pushed a button.
Que delícia, por favor, morra é ótimo. Mas eu não morri. Ou eu morri? Sério mesmo que eu morri? Putz. Que delícia, cara. Tá aí. E a mesma coisa do outro dia.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Ok, eu vou seguir tuas direções agora, cara. Tu é o único que pode me ajudar. Né? Tá, fala.
Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors. He entered the door on his left.
Ok, entrei. E agora? Sala de reuniões.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office hoping he might find an answer there.
Aqui tá dizendo dicas para não ser despedido, como resolver uma disputa com um co-trabalhador. Então tá, né? Onde é que tá a sala do chefe? Lá em cima?
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Ok. Tô subindo. Caraca, que bonito. O que é isso aí? Banheiro executivo. Óbvio. Ué, secretária não tá aqui. Chefe? Oi?
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life.
Tá, morreu todo mundo?
Unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What
Exatamente.
he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret pin number.
2845.
5.
2845.
Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Muito obrigado, voz da minha cabeça. Valeu. Te amo. Tá. Está um pouquinho sinistro. Olá? Oi? Esse jogo é de terror? Será? Vamos descer. Esses elevadores estilo Dead Space, né, cara? Tem só os carregamentos aí. Muito louco.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job.
Exatamente, por que eu trabalhava?
Now, when for years it had never occurred to him. This question would not go unanswered for long.
Será? Oi? Vai em direção à luz.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control.
Ah, instalações de controle mental. Escape. Eu tenho que entrar ali ou eu escapo? Tá, vamos entrar. Oi. Tá, aqui, como é que funciona isso aqui?
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens.
Caraca!
What horrible secret did this place hold?
Esse local, tá boa a tradução, hein? Esse local.
The strength to find out.
Caraca! Olha lá, 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 lá. Se eu tenho a força? Claro que eu tenho a força. Ah, mas credo, eu vou descobrir tudo. Eu sou muito boss. Tá, seu palhaço? Vou apertar aqui. Ó, Big Brother.
Monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building.
É Big Brother.
Workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Caraca, que empresa sinistra, velho. Tá, isso aqui.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe it couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
Com certeza, cara. Se eu tava apertando botões na frente de um PC toda hora, e tipo, por que alguém me dizia não porque eu queria, alguém manipulou. Vamos subir.
No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world?
Pode acontecer, cara.
But
Na
here's
moral.
the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy or sad or content.
Mind Control Offline. Alguém hackeou o sistema.
All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life.
Vamos desligar
For
aquilo.
he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Tá perto disso aqui? Não. Tá ali. O local que tá dando energia pra isso. Wide controls. Waiting. Caraca, parece uma sala de cinema. Esse jogo é muito louco, velho. Dá pra desligar isso aqui?
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
Eu vou desligar isso aqui. E morreu. Eu vou morrer mesmo, cara. Pode crer. Eu era só um programa de computador. Acabou o jogo. Ó. Caraca. Sente som.
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over?
Acabou? Ué.
Yes. He had won.
Tô ficando com medo, cara.
Unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved.
Exatamente.
His co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives,
Caraca.
it will be his. And that
Que
was
grande.
all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door.
Pois é. Vocês perceberam que eu ainda tô recebendo ordens, né, cara?
Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin.
Fiquem ligados nisso.
The immense possibility of the new path before.
Deixa eu só ver uma coisa. Para de querer nos manipular. Illuminati.
And Stanley was happy.
Que lombra. Seja livre, Dobby. Exatamente. Conquista alcançada. Beat the game. Tchau, bom. Sério, esse jogo é sinistro. Ah, como assim? Que? Oi? O que eu tô fazendo aqui?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Cara, para
Stanley
com
decided to
isso.
go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Cara, não tô entendendo nada mais. Sério mesmo. Como assim?
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Tipo, eu tinha saído, cara.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
E aqui tem o quê?
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for
O que
that.
tem aqui dentro?
And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished. His boss would think he was crazy.
Tá aí,
And
cara.
then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment.
Sei lá, cara, eu tô dando
No
voltas.
reason at all. None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked?
Exatamente, cadê meus pés,
Why
velho?
did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went?
Pois é.
And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating?
Se elas estão se repetindo,
Then
cara.
Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming! He yelled.
Eu tô
This is all a
sonhando!
dream.
Isso é um sonho!
Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above
Caraca,
the ground.
eu tô voando.
Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical star field, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking?
Exatamente, porque alguém tá me fazendo pensar
Now the
assim.
voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought.
Que?
And while he thought it all very odd, and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be?
Sei lá, acho que tem controle da mente na minha cabeça, cara. É, cara, muita maconha, exatamente. Drogas esse jogo.
Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life.
Cala a boca.
Now hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain.
Eu concordo, cara. O jogo tá irritante, velho. Eu não aguento mais, cara. Cala a boca, parece aula de história. Vai tomar no mar.
He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up.
Aleluia, ele vai calar a boca, cara. Meu Deus, eu não aguento mais esse cara falando. Vai pro inferno, desgraçado. Cara, eu vou dar um tiro em quem fez esse jogo.
Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please. It's all I want. I want my apartment and my wife and my job.
Cara, eu vou dar um tiro nisso aqui. Cala a boca.
My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be.
Não, cara, tu não é normal, velho. Tem uma pessoa falando na tua cabeça.
Okay.
Cara, agora é cocaína. Pois é. LSD, não. 1000 drogas.
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I'm
does the
real.
fox say?
I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
E morreu. Crocodilo.
This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
Caraca, vai mudar?
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for
Ô, velho,
for just a
eu tô prestes a cometer suicídio, eu não aguento mais esse cara.
He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am
Eu já fui pela porta da direita, pessoal, aí é que tá.
I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day.
Meu Deus, vocês são muito sem vergonhas. Conhecendo o game, cara, até agora eu não aguento mais a voz do maluco, tá? Eu quero jogar. Tá, beleza, ela virou e correu, e aí? Pronto, posso me divertir agora, por favor? Aí, de novo. Agora eu não vou obedecer nenhuma ordem tua. E doida demais esse jogo, cara. Não, não vou entrar da esquerda.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Como é que eu desobedeço, cara? Deixa eu ver, vai pela porta da esquerda, depois vai pela porta da direita, depois na porta vermelha. Ok, vamos ver que porta vermelha tu tá falando. Deixa eu ver. Porta vermelha, cadê você? Cadê
Wow.
você, porta
Yes,
vermelha?
this room. What a beautiful room. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Não.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Cara, eu não tô entendendo nada, pessoal. Que diabo de jogo é
Look,
esse?
Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here.
Ele vai falar a mesma coisa
I'm
dessa
not
vez,
your
né?
enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing in your trust
Deixa eu ver. É, o pessoal tá falando que é pra entrar numa porta vermelha.
about nothing but
Eu vou
you
procurar.
all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her.
Cara, eu vou explodir de ódio.
Is it, Stanley? To put your work aside.
Tá, e se eu me matar nessa porcaria? E aí?
But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
Sério. Alguém me dá uma luz, cara.
But Stanley simply couldn't handle the pressure. What if he had to make a decision? What if a crucial outcome fell under his responsibility?
Sério, velho. Eu preciso de ajuda aqui.
This couldn't go anywhere except the thing
E morreu.
Stanley thought to himself is to wait. Nothing will hurt me. Nothing will
Cara, sério, eu vou pegar um detonado. Esse jogo tá me deixando maluco. Eu não aguento mais. Pelo amor de Deus. Qual é o caminho, seus trolls desgraçados? Seus inscritos desgraçados.
Eventually, someday, they would arrive. Soon, very soon now, this will end. He will be spoken to. He will be told.
Queima a lanterna aqui em casa, você quer. Ah, muito engraçado vocês são, hein? Ah, são os trollzinhos. Depois dessa porta vermelha vai aparecer outra atrás de você e pode ser alguma não entrar na azul. Cara, what? Tá, vamos por parte.
What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Opa. Whiteboard ending. Não posso abrir mais?
Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in any way.
É, cara. Drogas esse jogo. Será que não faz diferença mesmo, ou narrador? Inscritos trolls, filhos da mãe. Tá, então eu tenho que desobedecer ele sempre. É isso ou não? Eu não entendi o que vocês querem dizer. Sério, pelo amor de Deus. Eu vou olhar um detonado. Cara, eu vou pela esquerda e eu vou descobrir isso aqui. Toma um pouco de todinho, eu vou tomar um porre pra passar disso aqui. Eu tô vendo o chat de vocês, eu sei da zoeira. Eu só não leio na hora porque dá atraso, delay na live. Ah, vocês são...
There was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley did to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer.
Eu vou tomar todinho mesmo, cara.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here.
Esse jogo é do demônio, cara. Não, sai de mim. Faça tudo errado até a parte do telefone, então desligue da tomada. Hã?
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Cara, é sério que esse jogo é esse inferno? Por que alguém compra um jogo desses? Tá, tem um banheiro aqui. Não, isso aqui é uma armadilha de Satã mesmo, esse jogo. Satanás. É você? Elevador. Desce. Tá, vamos lá. Vamos ver onde é que isso aqui vai dar. Oh, musiquinha de elevador. Eu adoro musiquinha de elevador. E você sabia que esse jogo tem finais alternativos, né? Não sei, cara. Primeira vez que eu tô vendo esse jogo. Abre a porta. Tá, eu saí no mesmo lugar. Really? Não? Ave Maria. Stanley. Tá, eu chego no mesmo lugar, não adianta. Eu tô preso.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf, looking behind paintings, desperate for clues to his situation. But his attention was caught by a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could its purpose be? In fact, this keypad guarded the terrible secret that lay buried below his feet. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
4, 5. Tem muitos finais, não tem uma coisa certa para fazer.
Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Ah, entendi, pessoal. Tem uma coisa aqui? Daqui a pouco aparece na Clotilde. Só pode. Não? Eu vou começar a tocar Rebelde na minha live. Só de raiva, né? Rebelde, chegou a minha vez. Ok. Eu vou tentar apertar o botão ON como vocês disseram, tá? Vamos lá. Não, eu vou escapar. Falou, viadinho. Ah, não acredito que eu morri. Sério mesmo que eu vou morrer. Esse jogo é aleatório.
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track.
Eu vou morrer? Ou será que eu não vou morrer? Cara, eu vou lá pro fundo. De moral. Não tô nem aí. Morreu? Morre lá mesmo. Quando se escapa de um lugar que tem um chato de trancando e falando, cara, se ele calasse a boca.
At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
Eu não quero morrer. Tá, eu não vou, relaxa, relaxa. Calma aí. Se o capeta aparecer, nós rezar uma Ave Maria. Se a reza nos valer, nós dispara na corrida. Se a perna estremecer, te pegue ele na briga. Mas só não pode acabar com as mulheres. Não vive sem mulher, mas é louco por mulher. Mas só não pode acabar com as mulheres. Eu não vou morrer, relaxa.
But of course, Stanley thought better of it and realized he simply had too much to live for.
Eu não vou morrer logo.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What place hold, Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out? Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building. Stanley.
Cara, sei lá.
The lives
Esse jogo
of
não
so
tem
many
regras.
individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Mas que coisa absurda.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's all this time? Was this the
Fodeu.
only reason he was happy with his boring
Sim,
job?
eu conheço o
That his
Damiani, pessoal.
emotions had
Eu
been
converso com ele às vezes no
manipulated to
Skype.
accept it blindly?
Já encontrei ele uma vez, mas as outras vezes que a gente quis zoar não deu os horários, cara, porque ele mora em outro lugar, né? E eu moro no sul. Aperta on, aperta off.
Unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly?
Cara, é por isso que eu gosto de vocês.
But here was the proof. The heart of the
Cara, eu quero
operation.
descobrir outra coisa. Calma aí.
Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content, walking, eating, working, all of it monitored.
Você pode ter uma plataforma embaixo de você, pule nela, vai aparecer duas portas. Se você até o elevador, pule nela. Nessa parte tem uma plataforma embaixo de você, pule nela. Vai aparecer duas portas. Antena azul, vai aparecer novamente a antena azul de novo. Se a hora já no final bem legal. Que? Caraca, velho. Eu vou ter câncer. Meu Deus. O que tem aqui em cima? O que esse botão faz? Pera aí. Tem botões com números aqui, né? Já sei. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, né? Pois é. Cara, eu vou tentar achar os botões numerais. E vou ignorar vocês, que vocês são os trolls desgraçados. É isso que vocês são, tá? Palhaços. O que tem aqui? Isso aqui é sinistro, velho. Isso aqui abre. Tá ligado aonde isso aqui? Aqui? Esse aí é um final ruim. Cara, eu não tô nem aí se é final bom, final ruim, final péssimo. Eu só quero ir embora. Tá, eu só achei 2 botões. Tá, vamos ver. Tem mais um aqui. 3. Um. 2. Cara, se eu morrer não interessa. Na moral. Quero tentar. 3. Vamos lá. Vamos ver o 4. Siga as aranhas, exatamente. Porque não podiam ser borboletas. Deixa eu ver. 4. Vou tentar o 5 agora. Só eu não posso pular nem nada do tipo, né? Ó. Já abri uns caminhos aqui. Cinco. E aí? Aconteceu alguma coisa? Vai explodir? Pera aí. Olha a quantidade de códigos aqui. Mas eu não tenho botão 0. Ou eu tenho botão 0? Cara, eu vou explodir. Tá ligado? Parem de me trollar. Opa. Console disable. Ah, nice. Como é que um cara que não tem pés faz barulho? Pois é.
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible
Agora deixa eu
place
pensar.
and to everything it stood for.
Hum. Se eu desligar, vai bugar. Vai abrir o bagulho. E eu vou voltar pra sala. On e foda-se. Não, pera.
Oh, Stanley. You didn't just activate the controls, did you?
Ativei
After they
sim.
kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you wanted?
Sim.
Control?
Era isso mesmo.
Oh, Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go. And leave. If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear
Tá, vai
detonators
explodir todo
will
mundo.
explode, eliminating the entire complex. How long
Okay.
until detonation then?
2 minutes.
Say, 2 minutes. Ah, now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's your time to shine.
Foge!
You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off.
Silêncio que eu vou fugir. Calem a boca.
Each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about me, where we're going, what all this means. I barely know where to start. What's that? You'd like to know where your co-workers are? A moment of solace before you're obliterated? All right, I'm in a good mood. You're gonna die anyway. I'll tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say this, though, this version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go. But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go-around will be even better.
Cara, que jogo louco.
Goodness, only 4 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so much. You know what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra time on the clock. Why not? These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees. Oh dear me, what's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now? Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off? I mean, look at you. Running from button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room. These numbered buttons, no, these colored ones. Or maybe this big red button, or this door. Everything, anything, something here will save me. Why would you think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten? Won? Solved? Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is? Stanley, you're in for quite a disappointment. But here's a spoiler for you. That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's just seconds ticking away to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless. To see you made humble. This is not a challenge, it's a tragedy. You wanted to control this world, that's fine. But I'm going to destroy it first, so you can't.
Será, cara?
Take a look at the clock, Stanley. That's 30 seconds you have left to struggle. 30 seconds until a big boom and then nothing. No ending here, just you being blown to pieces. Will you cling desperately to your frail life, or will you let it go peacefully? Another choice. Make it count, or don't. It's all the same to me, all a part of the joke. And believe me, I will be laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the moment we fade in until the moment I say, happily ever up.
Nossa. Caraca, véi. Que jogo do demônio. Sério? Cara, eu não aguento mais esse jogo, velho. Eu vou tentar mais uma vez, tá? Eu vou fazer as coisas de uma maneira que eu quero. Tá?
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Tá. Calma aí. Tá. Esse jogo aqui é de estratégia. Direita, esquerda. Direita, esquerda. O céu tem pão e morreu.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. The lounge was sublime, a work of art. What was it about the room that but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
Será? Ou será que eu desci? Acho que eu desci, hein? O céu tem Mario Kart. E morreu.
Stanley didn't want to go back to the office. He wanted to wander about and get even further off track. So now in order to get back, he needed to go, from here it's, left.
You're right. E front. Caraca, véi. Que inferno isso aqui.
Oh, no, it's to the right, my mistake.
Ah, tá bom, então é pela direita.
No, not the right. Why would
Ah,
I
vai
have
pro inferno,
ever said
cara,
it
eu vou
was
te
to the
matar.
right? What was I thinking? It's clearly... Oh dear, would you hold on for a minute, please?
Ele tá olhando no detonado dele.
Now, let's see, we went down right, left...
Right,
down,
left, down,
left,
right, left.
Yep. Okay, yes. I've got it now. This story is absolutely, definitely this way.
Ele se perdeu, cara? Tá. Beleza. O que tem aqui embaixo?
No. This isn't right at all. You're not supposed to be here yet. This is all a spoiler. Quick, Stanley, close your eyes.
Eu não quero fechar os olhos.
Okay. We just have to get back to, oh, who am I kidding? It's all rubbish now. The whole story completely unusable. How about, rather than waste my time trying to salvage this nonsense, we'll just restart the game from the beginning. And this time, suppose we don't wander so far off track,
Sério mesmo?
From the top.
Não! Droga! Caralho, véi. Tá, pera aí. Velho, esperem aí. Tá, vamos ver. Pera aí um pouquinho. Tá, calma aí. Caraca, tem muitos finais, cara. Tô vendo detonado aqui. Essa é uma parte interessante. Siga as instruções do final anterior. Até chegar a sala com as portas. Tá. Paz o final da porta vermelha. Vamos tomar o caminho exato dessa vez. Passe pela porta direita. Siga até a área de carga. Expanda para fora os finais 10 e 11. Ah, tá. Tá, calma aí que eu tô pensando, galera. Relaxa aí que eu tô olhando o detonado. Vamos lá.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley... Wait, what?
What?
No, I restarted. I swear, I definitely restarted the game over, completely fresh. Everything should be... Oh, did something change? Stanley, did you change anything when we were back in that room with all the monitors? Did you move...
Cara, eu te trolei. Sério. Eu consegui trollar o cara?
I'm the one who wrote the story. It was right here just a minute ago. I know for sure that it's here somewhere. Okay then, it's an adventure. Come, Stanley, let's find the story.
Achar a história. Aqui. Vou procurar. Ah. Caraca. Eu vou ficar vagando pelo infinito aqui, né? Todos os demônios aqui. Caraca, véi. Tadinho do Gui. Pois é, né, véi? Olha isso.
I'll say it. This is the worst adventure I've ever been on. I can promise you there definitely was a story here before. Do we need to restart the game again? Well, I find it unlikely that we'll ever progress by starting over and over again, but it's got to be better than this. Okay, let's give it a shot. Why not?
Tá, ele vai reiniciar de novo, né? Tá, beleza.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Aham.
Okay, yep, it's worse.
Tá, bugou.
I might be remembering this wrong. It's possible the story is back where we just came from. Why don't we go back the other direction and see if we missed anything?
Aham. Tá. Calma aí, a gente vai descobrir. Acho que a gente não perdeu nada, cara.
Aha! I knew we'd missed something. The story. Here it comes.
Tá.
No, wait. Never mind. Not the story. Okay, let's head back the other way and
Caraca,
retrace our
cala a
steps.
boca, viado. Meu Deus.
Now this...
Que isso?
Well, I'll be honest. I don't recognize this place at all. Is this the story?
Que loucura, cara.
I can't quite recall, but I believe my story took place in an office building. Is that correct? Do you remember, Stanley? You
Cara.
know what? Since I've completely forgotten what we were supposed to be doing, how about this? You win!
Venci?
Congratulations!
Chupa!
You put in a lot of hard work, and it really paid off.
Chupa,
So,
chupa,
good
chupa.
job.
Chupa, chupa, chupa.
Oh no, I don't feel right about this at all. We both
Sério, eu não
know we
venci?
didn't put in any actual work for that win.
Ah, vai se ferrar então.
People win fair and
Jogo.
square, and this was not one of those situations.
Ah,
Okay, I'm getting weirded out by whatever this place is. I don't care what might happen this time. I have to restart.
cara, esse jogo tá muito louco. Ah,
All right, I've got a...
agora eu tenho... Tem uma outra versão dos fatos. Cara, esse jogo é muito bugado. Deixa eu ver aqui. Tem um finalzinho nesse detonado. Confusão narradora. O final da aventura. Que manda escolhe a porta da direita. Você vai passar pela área de conveniência. Você vai chegar no corredor. Em vez de seguir em frente, entre na porta aberta à esquerda como o narrador pede. Tá, pera aí. Calma aí que eu vou conseguir um final bacana pra gente encerrar isso aqui com estilo.
The line knows where the story is. It's over in this direction. Onward, Stanley, to destiny.
Tô indo, cara.
Here's a thought. Wouldn't wherever we end up be our destination, even if there's no story there? Or to put it another way, is the story of no destination still a story? Simply by the act of moving forward, are we implying a journey such that a destination is inevitably conjured into being via the very manifestation of the nature of life itself? Whoa. Hang on. That got a bit weird back there. Well, I'd like to apologize. Not sure where I was going with all that. You know what?
Caraca,
I
véi.
think what we need right now is a bit of music to lighten the mood.
Bota uma musiquinha. Uhul!
Cut the music, go back and look at that fern.
Samambaia? Eu não vou olhar não, hein? Sai fora.
Wait, what? We're back at the office? No. Line, you do know we're looking for the Stanley Parable, right? The story? Is any of this ringing a bell?
Caraca, quer dizer que a gente se perdeu? Sério. Sério que eu me perdi. Sério mesmo. Ah, véi. Judite, não fode comigo, Judite. Pera aí, velho. Que loucura, cara. Pelo amor de Deus. Tá, aqui dá brete. Ali eu morro, né? Tá, da storyline. Então se eu seguir por aqui... Ir pra cá... Passa
Stanley,
aqui...
this fern will be very important later in the story. Make sure you study it closely and remember it carefully. You won't want to miss anything.
Aham, é. Pois é. Eu tenho que clicar na samambaia, é isso mesmo. A minha vida é clicar numa samambaia. Really? Isso aqui? Tá, eu tô olhando pra samambaia aí. E aí não acontece nada, né? Ai, que jogo nojento, cara. Que jogo nojento. Que jogo nojento. Que jogo nojento. Que jogo nojento. Eu odeio esse jogo. Cara, eu tô dizendo. Depois de terminar essa live é a última vez que eu vou jogar esse jogo. Eu vou dar um jeito de explodir ele no meu PC. Eu nunca mais vou jogar. Porque é horrível, cara. Sério, eu não tô zoando. É doentio. O jogo que fez isso merece... O cara que fez isso merece morrer. De moral. E aqui começa, né? Tudo. E eu fui pela linha tracejada. E essa aqui? Aqui onde eu vou morrer, né? Pois é.
Oh, no, not again. Line, how could you have done this to us? And after we trusted you, after every... Take this anymore, to hell with it. Restart.
Restart, sério. Posso mexer pelo menos?
You know what, Stanley? I say forget the adventure line. What's it ever done for us?
Verdade.
We're intelligent people, right? Why can't we make up our own story? Something exciting, daring, mysterious. Ooh, this all sounds perfectly doable. Why don't we simply start wandering in, well, I don't know. How about this direction?
Que direção? Tá, pera aí. A gente for por aqui. Boa ideia, boa ideia. Isso aí mesmo. A gente for por aqui.
Yes, this is exciting. Just me and Stanley forging a new path, a new story. Well, it could be anything. What do you want our story to be? Go wild. Use your imagination. Whatever it might be, Stanley, I'm ready for it.
Aham, se for um final legal. Se a gente se tiver final.
Oh, no, not you again. Stanley, I'd also like to veto the line from having any role in our awesome new story. No lines or monitor rooms. Just don't acknowledge it, and we should be fine.
Aham. Tu falou pra eu ignorar a linha, né? Ok. Opa.
A choice. We get to make a decision. From here, the story is in our control. How important we mustn't squander the opportunity. In fact, I believe I need a minute to think here. Just walk in circles for a minute. Okay, so I know that each door has to lead somewhere, which means that somewhere the place where we're trying to go...
Cara, não tô entendendo nada, velho. Cara, drogas. Eu queria chegar no finalzinho do Minecraft, cara. Que lixo.
Is the correct one. Another victory for logic. Come, Stanley. Our destiny awaits.
Tu abriu esse aí. E esse aqui não abre, né? Ó. O final confuso.
Oh, hold up, what's this? The confusion ending. You're telling me that's what this is? It's all one giant ending? And we're supposed to restart the game, what, eight times? That's really how all this goes? It's
Caraca, olha só.
determined?
Tá escrito tudo como é que
So
se
now,
funciona.
according to the schedule, I restart again. Then what? Am I just supposed to forget? Well, what if I don't want to forget? My mind goes blank simply because it's written here on this thing.
First restart, second restart,
Well,
third,
who consulted me?
fourth,
Why don't I get to
50,
decide? Why don't I get a say in all of
60.
this? Is it really? No, it can't be. I don't want it to be. I don't want the game to keep restarting. I don't want to forget what's going on.
Final confuso. Tem alguma coisa desse detonado, cara? Cara, sério, isso não faz sentido. Deixa eu ver se tá escrito final loucura. Sei lá, cara, ninguém tá dizendo que terminou esse final aqui.
Okay. I guess now we just wait. You know, I suppose in some way that this is a kind of story. Wouldn't you agree? I'm not quite sure. The journey, though they're always saying that life is about the journey and not the destination. So I hope that's where we are right now. We'll find out, won't we? Eventually. Well, in the meantime...
Final confuso é da hora.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Guilherme Gloss, ao vivo. Show único em Caxias do Sul.
When Stanley came to a set of two open...
Tá, pera aí. Agora eu vou conseguir, calma aí. Tá. Tá, a gente vai pela direita.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room.
Eu passo por
and Stanley
aqui.
knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Standing now in this incredible room, Stanley for the
Entro
first
pela
time eager
esquerda.
to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Ok.
And so he
Aí, se você continuar em frente, se ela possa já cancelaremos. Entre o elevador de carga para o botão vermelho para seguir por esse final tortuoso que reinicia o jogo várias vezes. Nenhuma decisão afetará o progresso a partir de agora, então basta percorrer os caminhos disponíveis. Ok. Vou descer aqui. O nome do final é Confusão do Narrador, o final da linha de aventura. Interessante.
But Stanley didn't want to go back to the office. He wanted to wander about and get even further off track. So now in order to get back, he needed to go,
Tá, na moral, pessoal. Chega. De moral, chega.
Oh, no. No, it's to the right. My mistake. No, not the right. Why would I have ever said it was to the right? What was I thinking? It's clearly... Oh dear, would you hold on for a minute, please?
Bom, galera, funciona o seguinte, ó. Eu arrego, eu desisto, tá? Pra mim isso já tá mais do que bom. Chega deste jogo. Muito obrigado a todos que assistiram. Eu vou upar isso aqui no canal e eu nunca mais vou tocar nessa porcaria desse jogo. Muito obrigado mesmo pela ajuda de vocês. Mas esse jogo vai me deixar louco. Chega. Boa noite e até mais. Fui!